who so far appears to be the hero, who so far appears to be the villain. So we could get to that. We could rediscuss Curtis's lead this morning about Ernie Adams. This is Kyle from Lowell. Hello, Kyle.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up?
Not much. Before I get into the Dynasty, the Russia story is unreal, isn't it? It's amazing. American foreign policy. It's like $10 billion to 3 different countries and 2 genocides funded for us to keep things in balance. Russia over here, they're just sending limousines for their foreign policy. It's unbelievable.
I mean, it would be great if it were one of those exploding limousines or one that had microphones or something.
Yeah, it definitely got microphones in it. What better way to make it seem like we're friends, but that's your enemy and you want to know what's going on?
Sent over like an exploding cake or something like that.
That thing got cameras and microphones all over it.
But on topic, if you could, Kyle, on Dynasty, did you call about that or no?
Yes, I think it's unbelievable. 2 of the best to ever do it. Greatest coach ever and the greatest quarterback ever have both been cheated on. Tom Brady by Giselle, Bill Belichick by Robert Kraft behind his back.
I mean,
on tape.
I will say I'm surprised so far in the Twitch chat, small sample, but it is what it is, how many people are suggesting that Robert Kraft looks like the villain so far in this.
Greg, of all the things that you've done in Boston, right? You've been on the radio here for at least 30 years.
Yes.
What do people here hate the most?
Somebody who's fake, faker.
Somebody that says one thing and does another. Everything else, why do you think almost all the great comedians come from here? Because you're rewarded by being brutally honest and laughing at things and pointing out the hypocrisy of others. Robert Kraft's attempt here to sully a man's name in this way is transparently bad.
In the entire time, watching it with my parents who were watching it for the first time, every time Kraft spoke, my dad was huffing. He's like, ugh. He's like, oh yeah, he's the one who is to praise for every good thing that ever happened with the Patriots. And WEEI, I think, always makes a good point where it starts at the top and then trickles down. So you do have to give Kraft credit where credit is due. But to make it seem like you are a self-made businessman who came from nothing, because he kind of paints it out like that. Like, I, created this company and then figured out a way to buy the Patriots, and the real estate around Gillette was the reason behind it all. It just comes across like, give me all the praise, but every time something went wrong, that was Bill, and you can't have it both ways. And we've been saying that for so long, but I think Dynasty escalates the entire thing, highlights it to show that Kraft only wants to be in charge when it's good.
Well, yeah, and he has no problem with whether it's Drew Bledsoe or Tom Brady or whomever coming up to complain about what Bill is doing and saying, yeah, I wish I could, I can say something if you want. Like, if you want me to go down there, I can say something, but I think it's going to be it's like, you're either running the whole thing or you're not. It was either you running the whole thing or Bill running the whole thing.
Well, I think he was like part of wanting to be, in the beginning part, he wanted to be a little bit more involved. And then as the winning progresses, you start to see that there's a shift where Bill becomes untouchable or so big in the sense of the success that he's having, where he starts to change a little bit, and Robert almost looks at it like, well, wait a second, this is my team, but I feel like an outsider.
Well, you mean like Bill was getting the credit, which, by the way, was just and deserved.
True, but Robert was kind of like, I'm still holding some pieces together. I'm not having the Drew Brady thing blow up because I'm being this mediator that's kind of trying to like settle the peace a little bit and saying, hey, Drew, I could go to him, but that's not going to work out best for anybody. Let it all play itself out rather than Robert going to Bill and saying, all right, what's going on here? So I think he learned a little bit from the Parcells mistakes.
Go ahead, Curtis.
No, I was just going to say that what was the point of the press conference? Robert Kraft knew all of this was in the can. He knew it was going to be released in February. So why was he so dead set on getting that awkward final press conference where he and Bill shared the stage briefly? Like, that in hindsight makes even less sense.
He should have came out with this thing a year ago or 2 years ago when Bill was still here, because then maybe it probably paints Bill in a different picture a little bit, and they maybe, what's that stuff when they say in the world of editing and television, cutting room floor? Some of that stuff would have been on the cutting room floor.
This is Scott from Bellingham. Hello, Scott.
Hey, how's it going, Greg?
What's up?
So I had called as well to say that Kraft kind of looks like the bad guy. I think there are two reasons. One is that everything he says is so self-serving. For example, with Spygate, he says that, they were just trying to protect Bill. No, you weren't trying to protect Bill. You're trying to protect the image of your franchise and the success of the team, which there's nothing wrong with that, but don't project it like you're some white knight coming to save the day. And then also, I think Bill Parcells pretty much slamming him is, saying you know nothing about football and taking the draft away from him early on. I think that swayed a lot of people against Kraft as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't think that relationship is ever going to be repaired.
Parcells?
Kraft and Parcells.
Yeah, because Parcells came off and he was, he's not on there much, but he comes across as it was all about Bill. And I mean, Robert even goes, Bill was more focused on what was going to be in the best interest for Bill Parcells than he was the team.
But isn't that ironic, given this, where Robert Kraft has dedicated a 10-part docuseries to make him look best? So how can you rip Parcells about being about Parcells when you've done this entire project for you and your own vanity?
And for playing for both of them, both playing for Parcells and Belichick, I was fortunate enough to play for both of them. And knowing Parcells, I would have loved if they would have took the governor off him and gave him more, and for him to say, hey, whoever the people that were asking him the questions, so what's your view of everything? Because Parcells is not holding his tongue.
He could have said anything he wanted to. Well, maybe not, because it's a Kraft production.
Right, and I bet he did. Where Belichick, he's not going to say much about anything, right? He doesn't want to say anything. Where Parcells, he's going to give his side of the story, and he's going to give it. He don't care how you feel. And that's where I would have loved to see more of him, especially when they painted the picture like he had already moved on to the Jets.
I did like watching during Spygate, though, how clear and open Bill was back then when talking to the media.
Yeah.
Because he said basically, it didn't really help us in any way, shape, or form. And I think everybody looks across the field and takes note of what other coaches are doing or what calls they're making. And then to say, yeah, I made a mistake. He takes ownership for it. So then you have him taking ownership in real time, and then having Kraft years later saying, I went up to him and I said, what's the percentage of how important this is to your game plan? And he says 1%, and he says that he is, I forget the word that he uses, a schmuck to be doing that.
Schmuck.
You're a schmuck.
Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to tell that story right now? I think it's going to end up backfiring in Kraft's face. Because I don't think he's being portrayed, or it's not coming across to fans in the way that I think in his mind it is.
And somehow I think, call me crazy, I don't know this to be a fact, if Bill Belichick had an incident off the field that got international attention, it may have been included in the docuseries. The same can't be true for the person who put it together.
Yeah. This is Cotto from Leominster. Hello, Cotto.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up?
So absolutely loving the Dynasty, but I do think that Kraft, he just gives me major Weasel vibes. It's all about him. It's I, me. And I agree with Courtney. That thing that he said, calling him a schmuck, was just so stupid. He's trying to make it seem like he's the guy with all the power. He's the one that built it all. And it's like, dude, you signed the paycheck. Just shut up.
Then you're a real schmuck.
Yeah, it's not. And I think part of it is because when, where it is a Robert Kraft, I don't want to say if it's a Robert Kraft production, but they have final say on everything, it is going to come across as it's more about you than anybody else. And that, at the end of the day, now that we know how it ended with Bill, it isn't going to look good for you. If I was Robert, I would have never did this.
Well, My biggest takeaway based on, and again, we've had the luxury of being able to watch all of the episodes, but my biggest takeaway has always been that this dynasty, which was created, will probably, there were so many things that had to be in place, random and otherwise, for it to happen. It'll never happen again. And you cannot give the credit to what they were able to do to one person. The credit belongs, in my opinion, to Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, however you want to define the descending or ascending order.
Wiggy.
And then there's guys like Wiggy and every player who came in and out of there. And so I think the unfortunate thing, at some point, it became amongst everybody the goal to get the credit for what was going on there individually.
Right.
And I include Robert, Tom, and Bill in that.
The egos got in the way.
100%.
The egos of knowing, and that is, that is just like human nature, where people feel like it has to be, I'm the reason. And all three of their egos got in the way because as they all started to be successful, they couldn't share in it and say, oh, I'm happy for him, he's happy for me, and that's what you're starting to see. That's why I think if Robert was to do, if he could go back and do this again, I would tell him, just keep it about the dynasty and the football element of it. That's it.
Now that it's out, now that the Spygate episode is out, do you guys all agree with me that was the change for Bill Belichick in the way that he dealt with media, players, or maybe not players, Wiggy, because you were with him before, but media, fans, writers, because of the Mangini of it all, and how he felt so taken advantage of, or I guess duped in that case.
Like backstabbed.
Backstabbed. Yeah. And that's why he keeps his circle so close. That's why he wants to hire people that he trusts. Like, you understand him better after watching that episode and seeing just how Mangini took an opportunity and completely screwed him over.
I think that betrayal was led to him becoming that way.
Well, that's why we now know, people why did he treat Mac like this? Now you know why he treats Mac. And I've been saying this, once you're out of the circle, there's no way back in. Once he feels like you betrayed him, and that's what Mac did in the sense of going to talk to whoever he was talking to behind his back, or even if he feels like you're a guy that is just a locker room instigator in the sense okay, he could be dividing the locker room. That's it. He's washing your hands. And so he's going to treat you way differently than he does maybe some other people.